What is up? You were watching another episode of the LaxFactor Podcast. We have our first week of NCAA Lacrosse Tournament action done, son, for Division I. So we are going to get into all of those games. There were 8 games played, 4 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday. We're going to cover them all. Before I get into it, if you want to continue to support us, as always, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're pinged in your pocket when we put out new videos. Also, if you want to support us like big, you can go to LaxFactor.com and you can get yourself some swag. We have t-shirts. We have both our LaxFactor logo t-shirts and other t-shirts that aren't related to our logo at all, or just cool lacrosse t-shirts. We also have the Rampage Lacrosse shorts that you can see underneath these. So be sure to go to LaxFactor.com and get your swag. I digress. Let us get into this. The LaxFactor Podcast. First game of the day, the very first game that I got wrong, it broke my heart. Loyola beat up on Syracuse physically throughout the entire second half. Pat Spencer dominated Nick Mellon in the matchup between one of the best on-ball defenders in the country and one of the best offensive players in the country. Spencer bullied Mellon all over the lacrosse field. It wasn't Spencer's 3 goals and 6 assists wasn't just Syracuse doing a good job of bottling up his goal scoring and then playing help defense and letting him hit guys. He beat Mellon to the cage a lot, mostly by just being physical. When the help did come, he was able to shrug that help off and find open guys. Spencer dominated this game from start to finish, and Mellon came out the worst. And now listen, hats off to Mellon for even trying. He's just a much smaller guy, and I think it speaks to the lack of depth on Syracuse's defense that they've kind of been able to cover up at times this year, partly because Mellon was usually able to take the other team's best player out of it, and that was just not the case, and Syracuse had no adjustment for it throughout the game. Spencer just quietly kept beating them up. One of my keys to Loyola winning was Jacob Stover had to play huge. Jacob Stover won the goalie battle. He goes for 17 saves. Porter only had 13 saves versus 15 goals against. So Porter's under 50%. Stover was above 50%. That's a huge difference. Bailey Savio won 10 of 13 faceoffs over the course of the second half. That was also huge in Loyola's victory, obviously, and that was part of the Loyola just playing more physical. The first half, I don't think anyone would argue, it looked like Syracuse was the better team. They were the more physical team. They came out firing on all cylinders. They were hot. They were flying all over the field, picking up ground balls, hitting guys. Second half, that was Loyola's job, and Loyola did it admirably. So Savio was huge. Loyola looks great. They're on to face the winner of UMBC and Penn State, and we will get into that game here in a little bit. But I've already picked through. You guys already know who I've picked to come out of this bracket. I've picked Penn State to come out of this bracket, and the chances are that they will. But I am not going to count Loyola out. Pat Spencer is a freak of nature. So if anybody can will their team to victory over a tough team like Penn State, Pat Spencer is that guy. And Savio's not a complete chump at the faceoff X either. So he's going to get murked by TD Ierlan. But if he can just win 25, 35% of those faceoffs, Penn State's defense is not probably going to be capable of stopping Spencer much better than Syracuse's did. So I like their chances moving forward. We move on to the next game. We had Yale and Georgetown, and TD Ierlan is a freak. Kid wins 31 of 35 faceoffs. That number's a little bit off because even though he won 31 of the 35 draws, he did turn the ball over on a handful after he won the draw, giving the ball back to Georgetown. And that was partly the key in Georgetown kind of battling back over the course of the third quarter to keep things reasonable because they were on pace to get routed. And Ierlan, beyond his 31 faceoff wins, he has 29 ground balls. Obviously, you're going to have that when you win 31 faceoffs and an assist on the day also. Matt Brandow won the battle of the Brandow brothers. The other Brandow brother is the goalie for Georgetown. Matt Brandow, a standout for Yale. Matt Brandow goes for 4 goals and 1 assist. His brother, Chris Brandow, he made 14 saves for Georgetown, so he did all he could in cage. Penn State, they just have, or Yale, they have snipers all over the field. Baccaro, holy crap, Baccaro for Georgetown, 8 goals, 1 assist. That kid can play ball. Kid's got a shot. He can dodge. He can do everything. Yale was able to slow Georgetown down early. One of the keys to Yale's victory, I had said, was they needed to be able to slow down Georgetown's transition. They did that early on. What allowed Georgetown to start chipping back in was Ierlan not shoring up the faceoffs after gaining possession initially, and then Georgetown turning some saves into fast breaks, turning some defensive stops into fast breaks, and just generally getting a few more possessions and getting comfortable playing without the ball. So yes, Yale was pretty much playing make it, take it lacrosse, but Georgetown got enough possessions, and that was what I said. If anyone could hang with Yale with while losing the faceoff battle that badly, it was Georgetown, and they did in this game. But they go now. Yale, they have to go on to face the winner of Penn Army, and we're going to talk about that game next, and we'll get into why this next matchup is hugely important for TD Ierlan and his legacy this season. We get into the next game, though. Like I said, Penn and Army. Another great game, and a key to this game, I said, was A.J. Barretto had to stand on his head for Army in order to have a chance against Penn, and he did not do that. Gallagher for Penn, he wins 22 of 25 faceoffs. That is actually insane. Matthias scores 4 goals and an assist for Penn. Their offense is very high-powered, but partly because Kyle Gallagher wins so many faceoffs. Nick Turn, he was one of the keys for Army. He goes for 0 points for the day. I think he had 6 shots. He did nothing all day. So now Yale, they're on to face Penn. And Penn has TD Ierlan's kryptonite on their roster, and that is in the form of Gallagher. Gallagher, the first time facing Yale this year, 14 of 29, and Penn beat Yale 13-12 in overtime. I think Handley scored that game winner. The second meeting in the Ivy League Finals, 15 of 26 at the face-off X against TD Ierlan, Gallagher was, and Penn won that game 12-11 in the Ivy League Finals. Now, I've already gone through and I picked my bracket here. So anyone who saw the last podcast, you know I picked Yale to beat Penn in this game. Partly the reason why I picked Yale to beat Penn in this game is because, A, Ierlan's still there. He's still, every game you've got to say he's more than likely going to win the bulk of these draws. But the other big part is, how hard is it to beat a team 3 times in the same season? I don't care how good you are. These are evenly matched teams, both games being decided by a goal. How difficult is it to beat the same team 3 times, twice in tournament play? They beat them in the Ivy Finals. Are they going to be able to beat them now in the NCAA quarterfinals? I am not sure. But the key to that game, 100%, is going to be Kyle Gallagher. If Gallagher can win that battle at the faceoff X, then it's anybody's ball game at that point, as has already been proven by Penn winning twice. So even though I picked Yale, don't take that as me thinking that Yale is the superior team and that I'm on the TD bandwagon or whatever it might be. I'm picking Yale simply because, man, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. When I was in high school, we had lost to Johnson City twice in the same season during the regular season. We came back and we beat them in the sectional semifinals. So from my own experience, it is really tough to beat a team that third time, and we'll see how it goes for Penn. The next game up that night, this was the nightcap on Saturday, was UVA against Robert Morris, and it was just too much UVA from the beginning. UVA's Big Cats, Matt Moore, 2 goals, 7 assists. Kraus, 3 and 3. Herring, 6 goals. Conrad, 5 goals. Laviano and Aiken, I think, each had 2. So there's not a whole lot to go into in this game. I was surprised that Robert Morris was able to keep things respectable. You know, Virginia would get a lead. Robert Morris would score a couple. I think it was 4-2 at one point, 5-2 at one point. So Robert Morris, every time Yale would go on a run, every time UVA would go on a run, Robert Morris would score a goal or 2 to chip back in. So the final score, it was respectable. You know, it wasn't a completely ridiculous 19-10. Keeley, he looked good for Robert Morris, 4 goals. But like I said, Alex Rode was good enough in cage. I guess when you're beating somebody up, comes up with 6 saves, just doesn't let them keep the door open and take that any further. So hats off to Robert Morris, though. Great season. They have to be pleased with the way that this turned out in the end. Obviously, you want to win this game, but 19-10 to a UVA team that is as hot as anybody right now, that is very respectable. And Robert Morris is going to be able to take this into recruiting this offseason and take that type of confidence into next season. The next one, the first bloodbath of the weekend. I mean, not that the UVA game was all that close, but Penn State put it on UMBC. Only 7-4 at the end of the first quarter, and I was actually surprised by that. I thought that it would be 7-1, 8-1 by the end of the first quarter. Then they jump out to an 8-2 lead. So 7-4 at the end of the first. They jump out to an 8-2 lead quickly into the second, and they take a 15-6 halftime lead. Take a 15-6 lead into halftime. That was more like what I expected. I was surprised they gave up 6 goals, but it's going to happen. O'Keefe was huge in the first half. He goes for 4 goals and an assist in the first half. Jack Kelly had 6 goals in the first half, 4 in the second quarter. So Penn State, they are on to face Loyola. As we just go down the list, though, Dylan Folds, who is looking for a girlfriend while he's in graduate school, is one thing that I heard. So, hey, if anyone can help Dylan Folds find a girlfriend, let's see what we can do for this kid. He's 4-3 on the day. Amet 3-5 on the day. Spillane 1-2. I had gone through the list of Yale players and saying these 8 guys are the reason that Yale's going to win this game by a lot. And it proved true here. So O'Keefe 6-1 on the day. Kelly 6-1. It was just a who's who for Penn State of who's going to rip UMBC up, and all of them did for the most part. Ryan Frawley, he goes for 6 goals for UMBC, so that was respectable, and barely any saves. UMBC on the day made 7 saves against 25 goals against, so that's a rough one as well. Penn State goes on to face Loyola, and like I said, Pat Spencer, Penn State's not going to be able to bottle up Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer's going to put up at least 6 goals in this game. If this is a tough one, because if we end up with Savio being able to win some faceoffs against Arceri, then Loyola can keep this interesting. If Arceri dominates at the faceoff X, it's going to go Penn State's way, and it might go Penn State's way by 5-6 goals. But if they can turn some of those faceoffs into 50-50 ground balls and win some of those 50-50 ground balls and play physical against Penn State, which is what they did against Syracuse, then it could be interesting. So I'm not going to count Loyola out. But holy crap, Penn State is just ridiculous. They have so many weapons, and Loyola, I just don't think has enough weapons on D to stop them, but we shall see. I hate making predictions. I got to do it because it's interesting, and people will give me crap if I don't try to draw some kind of line in the sand. But so even though I picked Penn State to come out of this bracket, and I believe that's going to be true, Loyola, there are some things that Loyola can do to try to win this game and keep it close come the end, and a lot of that's going to come down to Pat Spencer trashing on the Penn State defense. We move on. We get into Towson, Maryland, and this was a hell of a game. Towson, actually, I thought Towson was going to make me wrong on this one. Towson had a 7-3 lead at one point, a little over halfway through the second quarter. Maryland battled back, and it went back and forth. And Maryland held a 12-10 lead late in the game prior to Towson rattling off 3 straight in just under 3 minutes. And Brendan Sunday scored with 1:50 left to actually give Towson the lead. And at that point, I was like, ugh. This is the ball game. Then Towson, they get the ball. Towson is running the clock out. The shot clock, there was about a 23, 24 second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. So instead of coming out and doubling and risking giving up that nail in the coffin, that goal to give Towson a 2-goal lead, Maryland decided to play with the shot clock. They forced Towson into a bad Brendan Sunday shot towards the end. And then Towson backs it up, but just throws the ball into the corner. So Maryland has the ball with about 25, 23 seconds left or so. They drive it up the field. The ball gets to Kyle Long, who drives it down the right alley, stops, waits for one cutter to come through, and then sees Bernhardt coming through as a second cutter, hits Bernhardt, and Bernhardt sticks the game-tying goal with 3.7 seconds left on the clock. It was freaking incredible. So we go into overtime. Towson actually wins the faceoff to start out overtime and turn the ball over. Ball goes right down to Maryland. And then once again, Kyle Long, he assisted the game tying goal. He assisted the game winning goal to Louis Dubik. And boom, Maryland is on to face, who do they face? They face UVA, I believe, here next. And once again, you already know who I picked. I get this one wrong to a degree because I did pick Maryland, but then as the bracket shakes out further down into the Final Four, I screwed it up a little bit. But I got that one right. Maryland did come back. They did win. Jared Bernhardt shows people why he made the Tewaaraton finalist list, scoring a huge goal with 3.7 seconds left. Maryland played tough D when they had to. They won faceoffs. They didn't really win faceoffs when they had to, but they did a good enough job getting defensive stops to give their offense a chance, and that was incredible. We move on to Duke and Richmond. I had thought this game might be close. I honestly didn't think it was going to be this close. Richmond, they led early. Duke battled back to take a 6-4 lead by the end of the half, and that was kind of what I expected. Richmond, I think, went up at one point 2-1. I think they were up maybe 4-2 at one point also, prior to Duke rattling off a bunch of goals to take a 7-4 lead into the half. Richmond scores 3 unanswered, 2 by Tate Gallagher. They end up tying it up 7-7 in the third quarter. And that's when Duke rattles off 5 unanswered. So, Richmond does a great job to get it tied, but then Duke scores 5 unanswered. They have a 12-7 lead, and then it's just a matter of holding Richmond off, which they did. Richmond did score goals, and I think they got to within a goal with under 2 minutes left, but too little, too late. Duke was able to hold them off. They get the win, and they go on to face the winner of Hopkins and Notre Dame. I will say, though, in this game, the story of the game was Nakai Montgomery. He goes for 3 goals and 2 assists. He just continues to evolve as a player. Had a really nice feed on a man-up play down low. Brad Smith, 2 goals, 3 assists. Carpenter, 2-0. Robertson, 2-0. Duke was just too much for Richmond in the end, too much depth. Turner Upgren played good enough in cage with 8 saves. So great game. Duke is on to face the winner of Hopkins and Notre Dame, which brings us to the last game of the night, last game of the weekend. Notre Dame against Johns Hopkins. We're going to see the return of Ryder frickin' Garnsey in this game, if you can believe that. And this game did not go at all as I expected. With how hot Johns Hopkins had been, I expected it to be a little bit tighter. Notre Dame rode the excitement of having Garnsey back. And Garnsey didn't factor much early, as Notre Dame ends up going on a 6-1 run. Notre Dame was up 6-1 by the end of the first quarter is what it was. And the usual suspects, it was Gleason, it was Costabile, Morin. A lot of those guys were the ones that scored those early goals. Ryder Garnsey scored his first goal of the season in his first game of the season with 5:07 left in the second quarter, making it 8-2 Notre Dame. Which was just great to see. I believe it was a man-up goal. Skip pass came from down low on the right side, opposite side of the field, and Garnsey just nailed the corner on that. Costabile and Garnsey, they each go 3-1 on the day. Notre Dame had 4 guys with at least 4 points, which was good for Notre Dame. Morrison Meyer, he goes 4-0. Quinn McCann, 1-3. Charles Leonard was one of the keys. I had said the face-off battle here between Leonard and I always draw a blank on who Hopkins has facing off. But anyway, Leonard wins 17-29, so that was important to Notre Dame's just getting enough possessions to stave the Hopkins offense off. Epstein continued to be Hopkins' best player. He goes 3 goals, 3 assists. He had an incredible freshman year. In my opinion, he is the freshman of the year. It's between him and Sam Handley, I think. Handley is just a beast of a player also. So I could give it to Handley if they go a little bit further, but Epstein had a ridiculous freshman campaign for Hopkins. And for Notre Dame, it's on to Duke. They've split during the regular season. They lost, and then they beat Duke in the ACC semis. So this one, throw it up in the air. It's a toss-up. It can go either way. I like Notre Dame's momentum. I like that Notre Dame now has Garnsey back, which looks like it is actually going to help their offense. He's been practicing with the team all year, so Garnsey could be key. This could be kind of like a Syracuse run where they bring Cody Jamieson in for the playoffs as well, and then they end up winning the national championship that year. So Notre Dame, they looked great. Hopkins, not so much, but either way, I was really hoping that Petro was going to get himself at least to the quarterfinals, but back to Memorial Day weekend, and that's a really odd thing to hear a Syracuse fan say, but it was the truth. Quick little D3 tidbit here because I found this interesting. RIT and Union in the Division III tournament. RIT beat Union 12-9 first time these teams met. They beat them 14-6 in their conference tournament finals, I believe it was. RIT had a 10-4 lead off a Cam Isaac goal halfway through the third quarter or so, and then Union just chipped away. They get within a goal. They win the face-off, I believe, after they scored that goal, and Chandler Allen for RIT forced a turnover with 7 seconds left to seal the deal for RIT, so they move on to play in the, what is it? It's going to be the 4th round of the NCAA. I think it's actually their quarterfinal round. Amherst got a win over Wesleyan 16-13. Williams beat St. John Fisher 17-12. I was really hoping for Fisher to get that win. Cabrini beat Springfield. Denison beat Rhodes. Tufts smoked Stevenson. York beat Washington and Lee by 2. That was a great game. And Salisbury beat up on Lynchburg 18-10. So that's the teams that are going to shore out the quarterfinal round for the NCAA Division III tournament. Lots of great action, though, coming up here in this upcoming week at the Division I level. We're going to do a handful of podcasts between now and next Monday, so be sure to check out. As always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when we put new videos out. If you really want to support the channel, get yourself a t-shirt. Go to LaxFactor.com. As always, you can head over to LaxFactor.com/lamp if you want to get yourself a big league lighting lacrosse helmet lamp. Turn that lacrosse helmet that you're not using anymore, especially now that the seasons are getting over for people, turn that helmet into a sweet desk accessory or something for your bedroom, whatever. Again, thank you for watching. We'll put out a couple more videos here during the course of this week. Enjoy. Oh, hold on. I almost forgot. I wish I would have said this in the beginning. I didn't. We've got a new jersey up. Some of you Puritans might not like it. The whole idea here is America, fuck yeah. So I am down with that message. This is from tribelacrosse.com. So as we've been doing this, all you got to do, make a useful and entertaining comment. And by entertaining, I just mean make it have something to do with the games. Comment down below. You'll get put in to win this. We'll actually give you chances to win this throughout the week. Every time you comment on a new video, that gets you a new entry, and it's only for the podcast video. So it's only for the videos that I tell you, hey, comment down below to get entered to win this. That's from tribelacrosse.com. Again, everybody, thank you for watching. I will see you a little bit later.